Welcome to the Pathways to Profitability podcast, personal tales of business success, where we hear local business owners' personal stories of their trials and tribulations that got them to where they are today. Here's your host, Cheryl Mucha, CEO of CFO Your Way.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Pathways to Profitability podcast. I am Cheryl Mucha, CFO Your Way, and I am excited to have with us today Sophie Michals from SM Edits. Welcome, Sophie. I'm so glad you could be here today.
Thanks, Cheryl. I'm excited to be here too.
So, Sophie, I like to just give our audience a little bit of a background about who you are and a little bit about your business. So why don't we start there?
Okay, great. My name is Sophie Michals. I'm president and founder of SM Edits, LLC. I'm based in Chicago, but my clients are all over the US. I'm a technical and business writer for subject matter experts.
So tell us a little bit. You've been in business for quite a few years. Tell us a little bit about that journey and what got you to going out on your own and being an entrepreneur.
Well, I was basically pushed off a cliff at the end of 20. I'm okay though. I survived.
You survived, right?
Yeah, I know. At the end of 2016, I got a cancer diagnosis, and it rocked my world, as it would anyone's. And then I was laid off about a month later, a week before I was supposed to have surgery and start my 2 years plus of treatments. So I just started doing freelance work. I had some freelance clients from my previous, corporate role doing writing and editing. But I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. It's emotional. I know.
Yeah.
You're digesting so much at that point in your life, and then to face a what's next in my career at the same time.
Yeah. And, I had always worked in the corporate world, and it's what seemed safe to me.
Right.
But, the stuff I did on the side while I was working in the corporate world was more fulfilling because I got to work on meatier stuff, meatier content, and I just liked it more. So when I got laid off from my job, I was like, well, I can't get another full-time role while I'm getting ready to go through all these treatments. I didn't know how sick I was going to be. And, there are a lot of unknowns. Right. So I wanted to be able to have control over my schedule and the time I worked. So that's how it started. It took me a couple of years after that to form my entity and make it legit. I kept thinking I would go back to the corporate world, but like 6 months into it, I was like, I can never go back because I enjoy what I'm doing so much.
Right. You get a taste of that being on your own and the freedom and the be able to choose the projects you want to work on and who you want to work with. It's so freeing compared to the corporate world.
It really is. And, in the corporate world, I could do basically one thing. I had this box that I had to fit in, and I couldn't veer much outside of that. And now I get to recommend to clients, the right solution for them versus, you can only do this one thing.
What fits in the box.
Yeah. So I like that a lot.
Yeah. And like I said, it's just so, freeing. And I talk a lot in these podcasts about doing what you love to do and not really working a day in your life and, having that freedom and that joy in every day.
Yeah. And it's funny because it is a freedom and a joy, and there's a lot of work that goes into it, but you're right. It's just so, when it's your own baby, it's enjoyable, even the frustrating stuff, because you learn from it, you move on, you learn how to do things better. And there's just something really satisfying about that.
Yeah. And we go into business. We don't know what we're really facing.
Yeah.
And we figure it out, and we tap into the people that we trust around us to give us guidance and help us along the way. And somehow it all works, right?
Yeah. I mean, basically you have to make it work. Like and that's, I feel like I have no choice but to make it work. And that's the same, like after when I was going through cancer treatment, I'm like, well, I have to figure it out. I have to make this work because I don't really have another choice. And
right. And for me, once I went out on my own, the one of the real pushes for me to make it work was the fear of going on job interviews to find a new full-time job. And what do we do every day now? Like every potential client, every client engagement is really like a job interview, right?
Yeah, it is.
But
And
that fear and that thought of putting together a resume and sending out and like talking about yourself and selling yourself, like that was a big fear for me. And then, here I am 10 years later and I'm doing it every day. But we control it. Like we're more in control, I guess.
Yeah. And it still makes me a bit anxious when I have those conversations with brand new people, but I'm getting better at it all the time. And, the more I do it and the more I talk to other business owners like you and, other business owners, I know that we all go through it. So it's kind of reassuring.
Yeah, it's something we all have to, it's different. It's in like that next lesson in life that we all need to learn in order to be successful. But I love like when you look back, so you learn a new methodology or you learn a new way of corresponding with people. And at first it's like real uneasy and uncomfortable and I can't do this. I don't want to do this. And then a year later you look back like, wow, look how far I've come. I did it. I was uncomfortable and now it's like second nature.
Do you ever forget that where you were and then where you are now? Do you ever forget the steps in between and think you really haven't accomplished much?
No, I try to really look back and see those, the big and the little steps, like the big milestones and the little tiny baby steps, because they all contribute to the success and like the next, and then it's the next step. It's the next thing to learn or the next thing to do. Like, it's not like one and done. Like,
right.
Oh, I went to college, I'm done learning kind of thing, right? We're always learning something, and we have to be a success.
I think that's also, another thing that I love about it. Like, I love learning new things and being a business owner, but also working with different clients. I'm always learning new stuff about what my clients are working on or a new way to do something in my business. And that's really fun because I like to learn things. And I think that's part of the draw of being a business for myself.
Right. And every client, like I love, like every client is unique and different. And just, we get more into the weeds of how the business operates and how the business runs and whatnot. And everyone does it differently. And I'm sure you find the same way with, providing content and writing for your clients. Everyone has a different perspective. Everyone has a different way they want to present.
Yeah.
And there's something to learn in all that. And also draw from what we know to bring to that client. So tell us a little bit more about how you engage with your clients, what kind of writing you do for your clients. Give us a little bit of nuts and bolts, maybe if you have industry specialties.
Okay. Yeah, I work with, it's mostly people who've left the corporate world to do consulting of some sort or open their own small business. People I work with are architects, planners, organizational psychologists, healthcare and biotech researchers. And it's usually people who, they really know their stuff and either they need help editing because their writing is really written for an expert audience. And sometimes it needs to be translated for a more general audience. And they're too close to it to be able to see how to do that. So that's what I help with. Yeah.
It's like dumb it down, right?
Well, I mean,
dumb it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, just make it more
accessible.
Yeah, accessible to the general population. Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes it has to kind of straddle both worlds. It has to, it's might be for multiple audiences. And so you can't,
Generalize
I don't want to
it.
say generalize it too much. I didn't want to say, too much, but you also it can't be like over people's heads. Sometimes it's over my head, but I know how to ask the right questions to make sure I'm on the right track,
Right.
and learn stuff.
Right. Yeah. And that's where the learning comes back in.
Yeah.
So let's look back at your career. And was there a mentor or someone that influenced you during your life that like led you in this direction, down this path?
That's a really good question, because I was the first person in my family to go to college, and I didn't go with the aim of trying to get a job after school. It was just, I went to learn. That was I don't know. So for a couple of years after I got out of school, I was waiting tables and tending bar. And then somehow I ended up working in an advertising agency. And I was doing like project management, like low level project management. But I was also seeing that I had to, this was, early 90s. I had to take
Things
the
are a little bit different, right?
yeah, take the printouts of the, ads or whatever we were producing around to the different people to approve it. And I was like, I see problems with this. There are mistakes on here. So I kind of talked myself into another job doing like proofreading and editing. And that's, that's how I got started. But I think it goes back to when I was a kid, I was always playing word games with my family. Scrabble, I would fight people in my family for the crossword puzzle in the paper, try to get to it first every day. So I've always had a love of words and reading and writing, and the fact that I could make money doing that is kind of amazing, and also help people. But it's like, oh, cool, I get to do something I really like and good at, and make a living doing it.
Fun. So tell us a little bit about, I saw on your website, it's beyond the grammar and the spelling and the punctuation. So what does that mean to you?
Well, part of it's like we were just talking about, like making sure it's written with the audience in mind. So I always interview my clients to get a sense of who they're writing for. So I can make sure that the writing speaks to them and is written at the right level for them to understand it. So that's a big piece of it. Just making sure it's clear and compelling, that it isn't overly wordy. Because I work with subject matter experts, they're usually super brainy, and a lot of them tend to be verbose. Their writing is kind of, so we can pare it down and make the message clearer, and that's a big part of it too.
Great. So I'm going to shift a little bit here. How do you define business success, not only for yourself, but just as like a global concept? That's a really, I I feel like we need to sit down over a 2-hour coffee to talk about this. That's a heavy question. But I guess, for myself, just existing and being able to keep doing this work and keep my clients happy, that's success. But also feeling like I'm helping people, hearing from my clients that I've helped them, that I've eased their mind, that I've, helped make their writing better. That feels like a success. And I like to work with people who I feel are doing some kind of good, giving back to society in some way. So if I can have some small part in that, that feels like success to me. And that's a great thing. It's so important to give back and to support those that need our support, either through mentorship or, education or whatever it is. It's not only, of course, good for whoever's on the receiving end, but it fills our hearts and souls too.
Yeah, exactly.
So is there anything else you want to share with our audience? Definitely share how our audience could get in contact with you.
So I post several times a week on LinkedIn, writing tips, and you can find me there at Sophie Michals. And my website is smedits.com.
Okay, perfect. So thank you, Sophie, so much for being here with me today and sharing with our audience your experience. I'm glad you joined us. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. It's been fun.
So to our audience, thank you so much for being here today and listening into Pathways to Profitability podcast. You can find all prior recordings, video, audio on pathwaystoprofitability.com. Please give us your feedback and listen in and look for all our future episodes. Thank you so much. Be well and share kindness.
That's it for today's episode of Pathways to Profitability. Remember to ask yourself, where can I pay my success forward today?